Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's edition of Press R. The figures are alarming of state workers deserting their duty posts in Cameroon to foreign countries. Teachers and medical doctors are leading the chart of what has become an unfortunate phenomenon difficult to control. What is the gravity? What are the consequences? And what are the measures put in place to redress an issue which is calamitous to the state but an opportunity to the concerned? That's what we're going to focus on Press R today. And as guest, we have invited Emmanuel Tumanjong, thank you so much, who is a Cameroon correspondent of the Associated Press and the Wall Street Journal. You're welcome, Emma.
Thank you, Killian.
And close to you is Keke Bonte. Keke Bonte is the president of Immigration Consultant Beth Academy Organization. Welcome, Keke.
Thank you very much, Killian.
Yes, and I have James Akaba, who is a civil society actor. It's long you've not come to Press R, but now we are very pleased to have you again. You're welcome to this program.
Thank you so much, sir. It's always an honor.
Yes, and to the extreme right of the set, we have Dr. Grimbald Nda, PhD, who is an educationist. We are glad to have you here.
Me too. I'm happy to be here. It's always a pleasure to be here, Mr. Nda Killian. I wish to extend fraternal greetings to all the viewers of CRTV and Press R in particular this afternoon.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This is Press R, and we are broadcasting live from Studio 4 of CRTV Broadcasting Center in Yaoundé. Yes, our topic again, as a reminder to you, ladies and gentlemen, is flight of state workers. What is the gravity of the phenomenon, its consequences, and control measures taken by the Cameroon government? We're going to go straight into our discussion. Beginning our conversation, we want to know, first thing I ask you is, what is the gravity, Dr. Greenberg?
Mr. Nda Killian, this is really a serious educational problem in Cameroon, in our community, because it has gone to the extent where government has to put stringent rules in all the airports in order to ensure that the teachers do not leave massively. But it is very difficult to control the personal aspirations and ambitions of individuals, because in the secondary sector,
that is the second or even the third part of what we're going to be talking about here. We just want first to measure what gravity this is in the country. You've talked about it's a phenomenon. Do we have figures of how many teachers, for example, how many medical doctors, for example, because those are the two leading areas?
Yes, for the teachers, the secondary educational sector is in need of about 50,000 teachers, because the number of teachers that have left and abandoned their duty posts, either because of greener pastures out of the country or because of the security crisis in the northwest, southwest, and in the far north regions, are getting to more than 5,000. So you see that because of the security reasons and because of greener pastures, if we were to tabulate all of these figures, we'll be talking of close to between 5,000 and 10,000 teachers leaving out. And if we also tabulate those that are due retirement within 5 years, within a period of 5 years, you see that if we do the sum of all of these, we'll be talking of between 40 to 50,000 teachers that are required, even given the number of schools that are coming up. For medical doctors, the situation is still the same. About 15 years ago, statistics indicated that out of about 170-something doctors that were being graduated, 90% were reported to have left the country within the next 5 years. So it is a serious problem. And that is why the doctor-to-patient ratio in Cameroon is very, very high. The doctor-to-patient ratio in Cameroon, this I'm talking of 10 years ago, not even now, is about one medical doctor is to about 50,000 Cameroonians. I'm sure the figures must have ameliorated. That is a serious problem. In the higher educational sector is the same. Because in the educational sector, I think approximately, I'm taking the average. If I'm to take the average, each state university has approximately 800 lecturers. Because University of Boya has about close to 600 permanent lecturers and close to 300 part-time lecturers. So if we tabulate that, that will be between 800 and 900. Ngwakele has the highest number. Out of that number,
when you say Ngwakele, you're talking about the
University of Yaoundé one. Yes, is the biggest, because University of Yaoundé one has close to 60,000 students. It has close to 60,000 students. University of Gaoundéré, Boya, and Maroua have figures between 20 to 25,000, getting to 30,000. Now, as for the teachers leaving, it is serious because let me take the case of Douala. Let me use Douala as an example. In Douala, it was reported that within a period of only 2 to 3 years, about close to 200 lecturers, that is so many, had left, had abandoned their posts. I personally know some colleagues in Douala, in University of Yaoundé too, and the University of Boya and Chang, that left, they left with their family entirely. And so this brings a big gap. And you are talking of gravity. The gravity is the quality of our educational system. What kind of Cameroon are we going to produce intellectually in order to build this country?
Now, let us get complementary information on figures. Who else has figures to comment on these figures or add information? Yes.
Yes, yes, thank you very much, and Kilian. Just to add to what Doc has just said, we want to say that based on statistics circulating on social media, we've seen information showing that there are about 3,442 teachers who are presently out of the country. And this, in terms of gravity, the question you asked, has an impact.
I should say it's not only social media, it's also in newspapers, because on CRTV
exactly.
we don't trust social media. But this is verified information that newspapers have carried.
Yeah, so this figure, if it is true, then it means that it's going to have an impact on the level of the secondary education, because we are going to be losing teachers, secondary school teachers, technical teachers, because most of these countries, what do they look for? They look for skilled workers. And so if we allow the skilled workers to go out, it affects the country in a way that the economy of the country is affected. The classroom, we're going to have a shortage of teachers, and there's going to be a burden on the teachers the few teachers who are remaining behind. And so we want to say clearly that if for any reason teachers leave the country, medical doctors leave the country, then it means that there is a kind of a direct exportation of of professionals out of the country without direct revenue coming in.
Yes, Emmanuel Tumanjo.
Yeah, you guys are talking about the flight of
government workers, teachers and medical doctors.
Those two. I know many cases of those two categories. This situation started sometime around 25 years ago, when I noticed that many teachers were running away from Cameroon, and it began functioning like this. When you see, like the case of the U.S., where you have free way to get into the country if you are a skilled worker, for instance. Doctors in particular have gone to the U.S. I have a small guy who has gone to the U.S. He graduated more than 25 years ago. He's in the U.S. And when they go there, actually, they're inferior in terms of categorization with the workers in those countries. So they go back to school to study. When that doctor went, for instance, he was considered there like a nurse. Then he had to go back to school. He went there around the year 4 level. After having spent 7 years in Cameroon, then he went at the level of year 4 and had to graduate again later as a doctor.
So he upgraded his level, his kit.
Sorry?
He upgraded his level there.
If you don't upgrade your level, you can't work in the US as a doctor, for instance.
Okay.
Even a teacher. Because let me say, although we praise our country so much, Cameroon has not got that type of super intelligent workers like in those 2 categories. But the point is that if you study very well, like, because for somebody in Cameroon to start getting those type of qualities, you have to start going to the level of masters, PhDs in those very domains. When you do that, you will be highly qualified to work virtually everywhere in the world.
I wanted to end this first question with the civil society actor, because civil society generally are the engines of the society, and they stay a bit away and observe from a distance and state the things the way they are. Yes, James Akaba, your take on this, the gravity of what we are talking about, the flight of state workers in the country.
Thank you so much, sir. I will start off in 2 ways. First of all, I would love to commend the efforts of the Ministry of Secondary Education, especially the minister. She's doing an amazing work, trying to make sure that students in class are learning effectively. And I would dare to say that the information we have circulating on social media is to an extent inflammatory. When I say inflammatory, I will state why. And to get started, to move on, let me comment on what Dr. Grimba just said. He talked of effective measures at the airport. We've had situations where there have been abuses at the airport because travel is a universal human right. We just need to have effective mechanisms that control the movement of civil servants. It's not like you're stopping somebody from traveling. Just take the records and then you can take the actions that are not necessary. Because we've had situations where people are kind of exploitative. They just hold somebody and they're asking the person to pay a lot of money for them to allow that person to pass instead of documenting and passing to the competent authorities. And those are things that, we don't have to encourage. And then secondly, the information you provided there, I think there are some questions added to that. The first thing, if you leave Cameroon as a medical doctor, in the US before you work as a medical doctor, you need to have gone into residency. You specialize, like you need 11 years of training before you can function. So when Cameroonians live here, it's not like they're intellectually handicapped. They just need to scale up to specialize. Yes, and for teachers, you need no further training to teach in the US. Cameroonians in the US are among the top teachers. What you may just need is licensing. And Cameroonians right here, they take that license exam and they pass before they move to the US. Yes, so those things, need to be made straight. So when I said the list that is going on, and it's a little bit inflammatory, the civil service here in Cameroon is such that the kind of the advancements, even when you are not productive. When we talk of advancements need to come with you participating in professional development programs, researching, contributing to academia itself, so that not only your students benefit, but all the teachers as well benefit. And in that line, teachers who sometimes travel are going an extra mile to accumulate competencies to come back and deliver.
So if you look at that's a different thing.
Yes. So if you look at that list, so if you look at that list,
where the problem is.
So if you look at that list, there are teachers. I work with the Cameroon Fulbright Alumni Association. I work with Open Dreams. So we have a broad range of teachers we work with across the country. So if you look at that list, as I said, it's inflammatory. There are teachers who traveled in 2023. They spent like 2-3 days in a conference. So the system is such that it tracks them leaving the country, but it totally fails to track them returning to the country. So there are lots of them there that their names are there that are circulating on social media, and bloggers are taking their names and saying teachers abroad earning money. When right there, even here in Yaoundé, there are lots of them.
It is good that you have raised that point. It is also good we are going to go to look at the control mechanism, and we come back to what you have said.
Yes.
When they give these figures, they have looked at those who have left. Probably they have not looked at those who have come back from.
Yeah.
You have raised the point. They are certainly going to go into this list and call them up. For example, This week, I heard the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform reading long list of communiques summoning people who have been absent from their duty post to come for some control, and saying that if you have been absent from your office for 30 days, you will either justify or you face the consequences. This should be done, as you have rightly suggested, to see whether these teachers have left and left forever, or some of them have come. Now, after having looked at the gravity, or someone has something else to say about the gravity of the situation. Yes.
Look.
No, we'll get to why they're living.
Look, Killian,
yes.
if teachers and doctors are living away from Cameroon, I think everybody who is a Cameroonian would like to live in Cameroon. Like I like to live in Cameroon. I like to live and work in Cameroon because I consider Cameroon, the whole country, as my office, because I cover everything here for those two news houses. One major thing is that the government, sometime in around 1994 or so, has slashed down salaries of civil servants by about 72%, if I'm very correct. The amount was really huge. For somebody's salary to be slashed down by about over 70% was too much. It is one of the things that brought in corruption in Cameroon. And then these teachers, the teachers are going there because they're looking for greener pastures that they can't get in their country. You understand?
Now, the figures we have here.
Let me just finish that. The government is supposed to.
No,
the government is supposed to go into the salary scale.
Yes, it's in relation to what we were saying. Over 3,400. But we have how many thousands of teachers in the country? Are you saying these are the only people who think that the salary, by scaling down the salary?
That is not a question to ask.
No, why not?
Everybody's supposed to have the same type of salary according to the scale of work and its categorization. That's how it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be something like we're favoring some, because in Cameroon there's a lot of favoritism. You're not supposed to favor certain people and I don't favor others, or don't keep everybody at the same scale. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly,
we understand that's what you are talking about. But I will ask another question. That's why you are here. From that 1992-93 you're talking about, you and I know it might not have been sufficient that systematically the salaries of state workers have been increased and are still being increased by 5%, by 10%, by that. That is a fact, isn't it?
The rate of increase has not been commensurate with what was slashed from the salaries. And that is why the people are still suffering. Okay, just a minute, please. The civil servants in Cameroon are complaining because they work actually hard, they have families. Imagine that you are earning something like about 70,000, or let me say, you were earning something like about 300 or 400,000 before, and today you are earning something like around 70,000 francs. The issue is that the people don't have money to take care of their families. They don't have the means to go to their work. They don't have the means to take care of themselves, even like to rent a house or build a house. All those things, you are working because you need to improve on how your persona and your family.
Yes, the situation is difficult, but I think that you are making a caricature of it.
No.
Yes, I want to add that, well, I think the emphasis is the reason, justification why these teachers are leaving the country.
Yeah.
And it is, I think we have to be objective here. The truth is that the per capita income, comparatively, when Cameroonians compare themselves with other countries out of here, they see that based on the same qualification, they have higher salaries. Mm-hmm. And so if they have the outside countries, right? Yeah. That are looking for skilled workers, and medical doctors and teachers are among them. When they see that they are qualified to go to these countries and have those huge salaries, they prefer to abandon their jobs. So I think that we have to be clear here that this is one of the main reasons. The salary does not permit the teacher to take care of his house, to take care of his family. In fact, there are other reasons why some of the teachers get disgruntled, because the level of promotion, we don't see the promotion coming. The teachers are not rewarded according to, their output. Yes, and so if I can give you some clearing examples here. If you see, if a teacher who leaves Cameroon and goes to Canada, what he or she earns for 1 year is far better than what you earn here. For example, teachers earn between 50,000 Canadian dollars and 90,000, 50,000 Canadian dollars for the lazy teacher who earns about 22 million per year. 22,500,000 francs a year, right? And maybe the highest paid civil servant in Cameroon will not have up to 5 million a year, maybe 4,500,000 a year. So they prefer to go. I think we should be looking at this problem and finding out what are the solutions. What can the institutions in place?
We will get to solutions.
Yes.
Continue at this level.
Yes.
Let me now ask you, is it not brain drain rather than opportunity?
Yes, I think that brain drain, we use it in the past. We are moving away from brain drain to some kind of a systemic situation because we have these skilled workers going out. It is more than brain drain because these skilled workers are going out there. What can we do in order to bring them back? What can we do in order to change the situation in Cameroon so that we will be attracted to, we will take that decision ourselves, staying here, rather than staying here because we are restricted from going out to the country. Because the government has the possibility of changing the economic situation in such a way that, these teachers and medical doctors who prefer going out, they would like to stay here if they can, have the same opportunities, economic opportunities, the same promotion, and so on and so forth.
Yes, I will come back to you, Emma, talking about what the system is doing. We are not defensive. We are giving facts. Just this week, you had the Ministry of Public Health that has a platform they've created, and they are liaising with Cameroonian diaspora medical staff to see how they can contribute back, pay back with the knowledge they have had there.
Good.
We have the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education. They had a whole program for the diaspora.
Good.
And you can go on and side. You are giving the impression that this is supposed to be done. This is being done.
Yes, if it is done and done in the right way, I think that those who are there, because they have the opportunity of coming back to invest here. Because if you can work 50 million a year, what will you be investing out there for? You prefer to come back here and invest in their own country. And so they need to look at the taxes and the situation and see how they can encourage them to come back and invest here.
I will ask you more questions because you are president of Immigration Consultant Beth Academy of Organization. You are the ones helping these people to go.
Yeah, we do counseling and advisory, educational counseling for at the level of study visas and at the level of immigration. If you want to get information on how you can travel out of the country, and we'll give you all the statistics based on contractor basis with a legalized organization in Canada, so that they know that these are the stakes. If you want to go out of the country, fine. It is not a place to find out whether you're a civil servant or not, but we'll give you the right counseling, and we'll let you know what you're going to pass through if you need to go out of the country. So we give the expert counseling if you are qualified. If you are not qualified, then you'll definitely not be part of it, because this reminds me about scholarship in this country. Do you know that surrounding countries gain all the scholarships, but Cameroon doesn't have those scholarships because at the level of education, even a level of secondary education, GC, university, the marks we give to our students don't permit them to have scholarship. So if we don't give the right marks to the students, and we penalize them by giving low marks, these students will never compete internationally. So these are some of the problems that we're facing. So at the level of immigration, it is another way created by, because it's a transparent way of going to Canada, for example. Going to Canada through express entry is a very clear and transparent means that you need to prove
know that
you are qualified.
In transparency, we have legality.
Yes.
And that most of them go illegally because they abandon their duty post. How do you call that transparency?
Good. No, I'm talking about transparency created by the Canadian government. Mm-hmm. You don't gain the permanent residency if you're not qualified. You don't get it if you're not qualified. And so if you are qualified and you are taken, it is your place to resign from the government and ask for permission from the government to go out of the country. The governor gives that. Yeah, the governor gives the authorization to go out of the country for those who want to go out of the country. So you can leave the country and you resign from your post. It's not a problem.
Now, these people don't resign. That is the question I'm going to ask you. James, don't laugh. I'm going to ask you and Dr. Greenbelt. They don't resign. The consequences on the state, the economy, the consequences on students who are the first victims, and then the consequences on all the aspects of national life. So how do you evaluate?
Yes,
what should be done to these teachers?
Okay, sir, thank you so much. Yeah, that is a major problem because travel itself should not be an issue. Is that you travel out there and you continue to receive a salary here. So that's why we continue to call on Cameroonians to be, let their conscience be activated. They should be patriotic. First thing, to get permission is not good. The governor gives the permission, though. It's the Ministry of Public Service, but you have to pass through your, a few channels, but not the governor. And I would love us to, not to pass a wrong message out there. Sorry about this. That, just crossing the borders, miracles start happening. When you cross over there, there are a lot of challenges that sometimes almost every day you feel like you have to go back home. Because the public service here has quite some weaknesses, but a lot of people really enjoy working. And when you look at the salary, the Cameroonians on a better salary than some Eastern European countries. I have facts on this. So when you look at the salary, and it is not so bad that people should believe that their situation is only to travel out there. You've got people here with very steady minds, and they've invested there, and they're living very fulfilled lives. So, and so in the aspect of teachers.
Apart from that, you will continue.
Yes, sir.
You have state workers here,
yes, sir,
who are supposed to have 8 hours.
Yes.
Of work.
Yeah.
Either they have 8 hours at work.
Yes.
Or they have 2 hours at work. If they can do the work, and the rest they're doing their private business.
A lot of private businesses.
You can continue.
For instance, out there, if you are in the US, they tell you to work for 40 hours. Teachers in the US spend more time in schools than the students. You go before the students even start coming, and you only leave when the last student has left. So you work out yourself and then talk less of the bills. In fact, talk with some of these teachers, they will tell you their frustrations. That's why sometimes when they leave and go out there, it's difficult for them to sacrifice or forgo what is being given here as salary. They continue to find ways to earn. So it's not like you just leave and then it solves your problems. And on the aspect of scholarships in Cameroon, I think we need to emphasize on this. Because the quality of teaching that we receive at the end of the academic year, like we have a number of hours across the academic year, if a certain number is not put in, once Cameroonians sit in for competition with people from Ghana, Kenya, you always see that the Kenyans, like in the scholastic aptitude test, the Ghanaians tend to have higher medium scores compared to Cameroonians. And therefore, when you have to position them for opportunities that are meant for Africans, you find that the Kenyans, the Ghanaians, they have an edge. Like you go to a school like Stanford, if you count the number of African students from these Eastern African countries, South Africa itself, you find the number is always about 3, 4, 5 times the number of Cameroonians. We are always in a minority, even though we must also take note of the fact that Cameroon is bilingual and not everybody studied in the English language. So I have a quick case here I want to quickly demonstrate. I hope, in 2016, I was one of the first to, acquire this electronic ID. Let me say biometric ID. We heard a lot of news about it. So when I got it, I'm an IT enthusiast, and I saw this chip. Yeah, this chip here. Yes, and then the same thing which I have on my bank card here. I was very excited about the potential of this card. But I'll tell you that this card is about to expire. I've not had a single situation where this biometric chip has been used. I've never had to swap it anywhere. Even when I go to police stations for documents, I've never seen them use any device to pick up my information from here. But this bank card, I use it all the time. I swap, though we don't have electronic payment systems. Come on. So what am I saying here? One way to track absences, it is not to just be relying on traditional systems that sometimes are very fake. Because people use it for favoritism, people use it to get money. In fact, a lot of illegal systems exist. So once teachers are recruited, they usually give this professional license. That professional license needs to be something electronic. Like in most developed countries, you clock in and you clock out. And when you clock in, the thing goes into the central systems so that people are always able to tell that, are you on your duty post or not? So there are no cases like people are leaving and receiving salary, and no cases of people effectively working and getting their names circulating on social media as people who have abandoned. So these are things that, I don't know how much it may cost the government to work on these things.
I like that suggestion. I like that suggestion. The Minister of Secondary Education you're talking about, whom I personally describe as Nalova the reformer. She has reformed so many things.
Yes, digitalizing education. They need to do the same for the teachers. Yes, so that only victims, only people who are brought their names future, not people who are in the field working.
And what I know is that she has listened to what you're saying, and that in the next, I don't know, 1 year, it doesn't only depend on one person, that could be done to track down these teachers in such a way that once you are absent from your station for 1 week, it signals somewhere where we can trace that.
Yes.
Now that takes me to a question which is fundamental in this flight of state workers. Dr. Greenbelt, this cannot happen if the principal of the student who is supposed to see the teacher every day doesn't signal. It cannot happen if the regional inspector or delegate who is supposed to inspect, who is supposed to control. These are people who should have a short list of their teachers. What happens?
Exactly, Mr. Ndakilia, and that is where the political side of me comes in. That is the crux of the matter. You see, I will not go back to what Mr. Bonte said. He has clearly analyzed why these teachers leave. Mr. Akaba has said so many things. But what I want to say is that what they are saying is not really the problem. The real problem is systemic, is structural, is political. The real problem is corruption. That is the real problem. We know how to track these teachers. We have the softwares, we have the technology, we have the system, but we don't do it. Why? And you have clearly put it. If the students, if the principal, if the divisional or regional delegate in charge does not report this back, the ministry will not know. True. Why are they not reporting it? It's because of corruption. It's as simple as that. What most of these teachers do is that when they leave out of the country, they look for a friend or a colleague that is not employed to work as part-time in that secondary school. And all of this is done with the knowledge of the principal, and the salary is divided between these three persons. That is what happens practically. I have seen it, I know it, and that is why I'm talking about it. That is how it works. And if the delegate in charge from the Ministry of Secondary Education wants to report the case, it is still corruption. It only suffices to corrupt someone. And that is why we said that no matter the walls you build around your country, you will never be secure as long as your citizens are not people of value. Look at the Chinese Great War. It's just an anecdote that I want to add. That is a wall you cannot penetrate. But legend has it that I think about 200 years ago, a general wanted to penetrate that wall. All he needed to do was to corrupt a Chinese soldier, and he entered the wall. That is all he needed to do. So that is the problem, Mr. Ndakilia.
Yes.
You see, Mr. Kaba is just from saying something which really caught my interest. He talked about integration of technology. All of these things can be done by Cameroonians here in Cameroon. We don't need to go far. Even the EGLE system, I see the government is struggling with in the public service.
It is working. It is working. I can
really marvels me. It is working, Mr. Ndakili. And then why do we have a lot of problems with tracking civil servants? That is a system that is supposed to integrate the entire national human resource system. It is not supposed to have these lapses. Why is it that an Excel list is circulating on social media and we are debating on, no, some of these teachers are in Cameroon, no, some are out. Why? We shouldn't have that debate with technology that we have.
Very correct. It should be easy to
These are the problems that
now,
we have.
We will stay on this point because, as you say, it's the crux of the matter.
Yes.
What should happen to the principals, to the regional, to the divisional and regional inspectors and delegates in whose area of competence of supervision these teachers have gone? You can't punish these teachers without punishing them. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I want to say that pedagogic inspectors go out to supervise the teachers. They go out based on the timetables submitted to the delegation. And so when they go out, they expect to see the teacher there. Yes, if the teacher is not there, the inspector doesn't have the powers, the punitive powers. what he or she can do is simply to write a report indicating the absence of the teacher. And normally the principal should have been the first person to signal. And he doesn't signal directly at the regional delegation. The principal writes, and his complaint passes through the divisional delegation. From the divisional delegation is forwarded to the regional delegation, and then from the regional delegation, it goes up to the ministry.
Dr.
So,
Greenberg is saying that it is a structural problem.
Decision
which means that
taken will not be by the delegate, will be by the ministry. And so if this report actually reaches the minister's table, then the minister will take a decision.
And it never reaches.
That is what we are talking about.
That is a problem.
Which means that it's structural.
Let's even say it reaches. The system in Cameroon, the administrative system in Cameroon is highly centralized.
Yes.
Those who are managing the system are overworked.
Exactly.
All because they want a lot of money.
Yes.
That's what I would say. They are being favored to occupy those posts. Things that would have been distributed to people, to people to manage, in a synchronized manner, are being done by one person. Like what he's saying. Somebody has a problem, say in Kumba, or in Bamenda, or in Limbe, is a teacher, and the principal of the school discovers that this person is not there. Typically, in a very good and credible administration, that principal should have started taking a decision on that teacher because
by himself. That's the most credible authority instead.
This card that our brother showed here, right?
James, yes.
Yes. Those cards are supposed to be in such a way that those people who are controlling all these teachers are supposed to use to take decisions.
Exactly.
Now, this is one other thing that happens with this flight of teachers and other state workers. They go to banks, their salary is the shortee, and banks accept salaries because they are credible. Mm-hmm. They take a salary of 5 to 15 million.
A loan,
thank you, of 5 to 15 million. It facilitates their going.
Yes.
And the bank is getting the money from government and the
Yes.
teacher is not working.
Yes.
So what should happen to this money if these teachers are trapped and the salaries are not going to the bank?
I don't have the answer to that question.
I would like to answer the question. I would like to answer the question. And that is why I was saying that it's a systemic problem, a structural problem. It needs political will. It is very, very simple. Mr. Ndakilian, we need to apply the leapfrog system of fighting corruption introduced by Xi Jinping in China. We can use the Chinese approach. We can use the
leapfrog. Many people don't understand what I mean.
We can use this other country. The name has given me. It's also an Asian country. We can use the approaches of these two systems, and corruption will almost die. I would not say
that system. What's that approach?
What is this system? When you are caught, like China now, the president is cleaning the army. Yes. The president is cleaning the economy, is ripping China out of corruption. What is happening? Immediately you are discovered, you have two choices. It is either you bring back all the money, confess your crimes, and you receive a lighter punishment, or you are executed on spot, and all those that help you are executed as well. That is what happens in China. But I prefer the first approach. Yes, and that is where I'm coming.
Cameroon has its own approach, which is the legal system.
Yes. The legal system, which unfortunately, Mr. Ndakilian, I am sorry to say, it has not really helped a lot in the fight against corruption because of this issue of centralization of powers. In Cameroon, power is centralized and problems are decentralized. It has to be the opposite. Power has to be decentralized for people to take effective decisions. Because in such situation, I'm coming to the answer. When it is detected, the person in charge has to reimburse all the money. If the person cannot reimburse the money cash, the person has to undertake service like it is done in other countries in order to pay back for that money. Because if it is not done with Ndakilian, it will set a precedent, which is what is happening. Do you know that between 2004 and 2010, I'm talking of 6 years, it is official records by CONAC, it's estimated that more than 8,000 billions were embezzled, and about 80% of this was in the educational sector as a result of what we are talking about. There were so many teachers that were out of the country and they were receiving salary. And we have so many civil servants in Cameroon who are receiving between 2 to 3 salaries, which is an abomination.
Yes, and there were many who were receiving more than what you're talking about. And we have examples that were exposed by the same government and punished.
Yes,
we
yes.
Just not far long ago, the Ministry of Finance and Public Service together came up with about 8,000 ghost workers.
Yes.
And then they controlled and expunged those who were not. So that is something that is being done.
And that's why I appreciate the Minister of Finance a lot. Is one of the ministers that have been receiving a lot of prizes for efficiency and effective management. And I really want to call on Minister Paul Motaze to continue this drive. Let them not delay as far as this list is concerned.
And another thing that you said, that we should get records clear, is that if you compare where we are today with what we call decentralization, compare what we have today with what we had some time back, you see that we have made strikes. Whether you say the strikes are insufficient or we should acknowledge,
are being made.
We should acknowledge that first.
Yes, efforts.
Because when you talk about
made.
decentralized power, you ignore, you undermine the efforts of decentralization. And you know that if you go to the regions now and ask them, they will tell you that this new system of regional and local authorities having more power is effective to an extent. Probably not to the extent.
That is why I was very happy when I saw this proposed law circulating, that the class chiefs henceforth will have the power to issue temporary land titles. But that is exactly what we have been preaching, and that is what we want.
But you did not make mention of that.
But that is what I'm saying. That is an example of effective decentralization. Because the third class chiefs are the lowest class chiefs. They are the ones closest to the people, and if they are given such power, then I applaud the move, because that is what we refer to effective decentralization.
Yes.
In the educational sectors, let the principals be given. Let the principals be given this kind of authorities to sanction teachers that have abandoned their duty.
No, they could settle scores. I know at that level. I know what that means. They can. I will not support such a.
Report. Let them be given the powers to report directly for the appropriate
with evidence.
For the appropriate authority.
That would be a blank check.
There is a law to that. Just that sometimes for them to take action, the law gives them that allowance for maybe 3 months or more. So sometimes they may not report immediately, but 1 month already, when the teacher is out of the class, it's much for the running of school. I want to say that taking a loan from the bank, the only guarantee as a civil servant is your salary.
Yes.
It's unlike the case with private banks and private individuals who take loans and they give a guarantee, maybe their houses and so on. Maybe if the banks start thinking about other ways of, getting back the money, then maybe there can be possibility. But when you are discovered not being in the country, the only thing the government can do is to suspend your salary, and they will never see you to ask you to pay back the money.
No, I think they can always see you. You have not gone to the moon. Even if you go to the moon, we have rockets that go to the moon.
Let another sector of the economy.
Thank you.
The money must come back.
The money has to come back. This is what can be done.
Right.
Once you do that, you have got into the record, the category of a criminal.
Yes.
And interstate cooperation should be able to track you, tell the country where you are working, that this is what you have done in your country, and you have to do this because you are handicapping, you are destroying. Yes.
See, all the explanations we've had here takes me back several years behind to talk about when the government of Cameroon was advised by the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, to retrench workers from the government service so as to pay them off to go and develop the private sector. when this happened, they were, because today we're talking about ghost workers, but most of those people are ghost workers. Are those ghost workers who were retrenched by that period? People were retrenched, they were given, as per your salary, you are given something like about 14 million, 20 million, 100 million, depending on what you were gaining and your age. But what happened was that when these people took this money, they came back, like because Keelan was talking about people who earn many salaries. Mm-hmm. Those guys went back, paid people to go and record, to go and register again, to stand as government workers. Today, the government is talking about ghost workers. All those ghost workers, even all these people who are running away from Cameroon, the doctors and the teachers, those people were fabricated with government, and the system of our government is highly embedded in corruption. So it is difficult for you to say you are taking this type of decision. All those little things that doctor is talking about, those third-class chiefs giving land titles. Land titles are a very big doldrum in Cameroon when you want to own land in this country. Let me remind you about one thing. There was an American who came to Cameroon to establish one of the biggest plantation of palm oil plantation in the southwest. The man bought that land, very huge portion of land, for symbolic franc. I think it was $2 or so, or two francs or something of the sort. Although the man died, and the guys in the southwest who were crying for their crops like cocoa, coffee that they were supposed to be planting on these lands, finally went back to the land. The government gave that man, I think, about 20,000 hectares of land or so. But today, the guys have gained back their land. And those are some of the decisions that the government is supposed to take and make things easy for Cameroonians to own back their land.
Exactly.
Yes. Now, Emma?
Yes.
Yes, there's corruption in Cameroon. Everybody accepts. Even the head of state, in his last 3 speeches, have said he is going to continue to hit hard on those who are corrupt. So it's not new. We know there's corruption. The head of state knows it. He says it. And it is
not about talking about it. It is about acting against it.
Now, let me give you. Let me finish. I'll come back to you. Let me finish. Look at what is happening in the secondary school sector. 1, no student pays their fee to a physical person. It goes through a bank transaction. It is traceable. Yeah. Corruption has been eliminated to a very high level.
It's still a level of experiment. In my opinion,
please,
that is still a level of experiment.
Let me give you another example.
Yes.
Every student in Cameroon, all schools has a number called unique identifier. Unique identifier. It means you dodge from one school. If you are a recalcitrant, you go to another one. You use the same number.
You'll be tracked.
That's a means of fighting.
That's interesting.
No, that's a fact. To tell you this, now the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reform. I know cases. I have colleagues here whose increment, advancement were done automatically when the egg came into action. I have colleagues, I don't know who are here, who will testify, whose advancements, whose arrears were paid automatically. They did not follow that. Those are things that are working. You can go and verify. So now we have 6 minutes left. We are going to go to control mechanism. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, we're going to go to control mechanism. Beginning with James has not spoken for 5 minutes or so.
Yes, thank you so much. One of the control mechanisms, like you had indicated, children have matriculation numbers. They once pay fee, yes. Even if they go to other schools, they maintain the same. Yes, normally, I'm sorry that I'm making this comparison. Normally, Cameroonians are supposed to have things like that. If those in public service and even those that are basically Cameroonians, you are supposed to have like what they call a social security number.
Yes.
Yes, that whatever is happening in your life, financially, whatever, it's easy to track in the system. So that way, if somebody has done something crazy, there should be a way to, to get that person to, to pay back. And why we're talking
Don't
this
we
control,
have that in what we call registration number, the matricule?
the matricule is that,
Yes.
and that's quite very good.
Yes.
But we're just talking of a situation that is a little bit more universal.
Okay.
And then on the aspect of like the teachers that have been asked to come and justify, for those that are in the country, when I think of a teacher in the far north, when I think of a teacher somewhere in Akko, Misaje, for them to leave that region and come over to Yaoundé and justify, they travel like for a day or two, and then they spend like another 1 or 2 days here in Yaoundé before they go back. Think of the toll it takes on
it may even be more.
Yeah, think of the toll it takes on their salary, which means that if the systems were a little bit more decentralized and efficient at the local level, it will spare them this cost. And meanwhile, we are talking so much about civil servants, traveling. Let's also look at, like last time, I think there was the month of January, or which month was that? They reported about 10,000 Cameroonians went to Canada alone. So we also need to figure out why.
That's what we are talking about.
Yes, why are so many Cameroonians traveling, and how can we kind of, resolve that, make the country a lot more friendly to people to be happy to stay and work here, and for people abroad to be even happy to come back and also invest at home. So those are, my last contributions.
Thank you so much, Grimba.
Yes, just to continue from where he ended, I will divide it into soft measures and hard measures. I begin with soft measures, the first of which is the unique identifier we're talking of. But in this case, it should be done at the level of birth. That is once a baby is born, that baby is attributed a number.
For life.
One number for life. Because in the US, like he said, it's a social security number that is more important. They don't have ID cards like us. It's social security number. Once that number has been attributed to that baby, it tracks everything, the records, everything and so on. And that's why the US security is very strong. They can track you wherever you are.
In the world.
So if we do that, it is going to go a long way in order to solve this problem. And then, secondly, we really need decentralization. I will keep talking, Mr. Ndakilian. You know why I'm also of the SDF. We need effective decentralization. It is going to make administration more effective, more efficient, and faster. So we need that to happen. For the hand measures, I will belabor on my leapfrog system. A frog can jump from here to there directly. We do not want this kind of system of fighting corruption where you have to be arrested, they try you after 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years before they pass judgment. We start from here and we jump there immediately. Meaning what? If there is concrete evidence, which is always the case,
not always.
If there is concrete evidence of corruption, the punishment is immediate. It doesn't have to go through a long judicial system which is making the money multiply in European banks while our sons and daughters are suffering in the country. We have to take very hard measures.
Okay.
Now, to you now, the measures.
Yes, thank you. I want to say that the flight of Cameroonian civil servants out of the country is not just an economic problem. It is a problem of governance. It's a problem of development. It's a problem of strategic planning. So my recommendation is that the government should look at the remuneration and see how this can attract these civil servants to stay back here. The government should look at how they can improve on the infrastructure and provide the technical assistance. I think the Minister of Secondary Education has started that already with the digital program that she's introducing. And so if we have all of this, we'll be able to solve the problem of thinking that restriction is a solution to curbing flight.
Right.
Thank you.
Quickly,
Yes,
sorry.
I will come back to you, and Emma, your last word?
No, my last word is that the government should improve the way it handles its citizens. And those is training. Because those being trained are there to help improve on the economy, everything that matters in this country, especially teachers.
And a lot of, I don't want to say money, so much is invested in training one teacher.
Yes.
So when so many teachers go abroad, they escape.
To conclude,
it actually makes it difficult.
They should know
that.
That's a good part in our governance. They spend a lot of money to train.
Yeah. To conclude,
for example, in University of Boya, government spends approximately 700 and something thousand per year to train a student. but what they pay is
50, that is right. But I don't think that they know it.
To conclude is that we are talking about teachers, we are talking about doctors, we are not talking about soldiers, a very strategic area in our country.
We said state workers.
Yeah. Okay.
We said
I need
state
to
workers.
I need to mention that Russia is recruiting soldiers in Cameroon to go and fight against Ukraine, and they're being killed. But
Yeah, it's not a Cameroonian. It's not a Cameroonian.
It's
Even
not a
Ghana
state
just
affair.
issued.
no, there are
Ghana
many
just-
of them. There are many of them, but
Ghana-
Cameroonians are
No,
very
they
many in
escape.
that lot.
The government doesn't.
Yes. It's not a state
Yeah,
affair.
the government does not
Yes.
send them there. They escape. So that's a
It's the
different
same
thing.
like the
Now,
students, the
your-
people,
your
the-
last
the
word.
teachers are escaping here.
Yeah, no, the last word.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Yeah, so I see a few countries doing something that if Cameroon does, it will also be wonderful. Like regionally, they always launch a competition for the Teacher of the Year. And there's a serious price tag attached to that. Yeah, so it happens at the regions, it happens nationally. That's something that can encourage people to really do so much work in the classroom, to put in their best, and it can also contribute to teacher retention. And the teacher, yes, the aspect of teacher retention, it can contribute to that.
Thank you so much. That is James Akaba, civil society actor. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Dr. Grimbanda, PhD, educationist. Thank you so much. Thank you, Keke Bonte, president of Immigration Consultant Bev Academy Organization. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you for having
And
me.
I want to thank you especially Emmanuel Tumanjong, who is a Cameroon correspondent of the Associated Press and the Wall Street Journal.
Thank you, Killian.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of this program today. We want to advise you to watch us again next week on Sunday at 12:30.